Right, there's the date. So I've had a bit of an epiphany. I think on the on the 144,000 thing. Yeah, it's taken me many years to think about this. Many years. It's been 8 years or something I've been thinking about that number. Probably 9 years. Probably heard about it in, 2010 or something like that. So maybe 10 years. And I could never nail it down. I could never think, well, what is this 144,000? Is that soul group families or something? I went through a lot of stages of thinking about this, guys. I thought, what is this number? This 144,000. It's from the Bible, right? The Holy Bible. By God. Oops, no, that's right. It was written by men who edited it to rule over other men. Check yourself, Bible believers. So, yeah, it wasn't written by God. Yeah, God came through some people, but men edited, change. And there was how many King James versions? Like 10 King James versions. A king, right? And the old kings, not the new kings, the one-eyed man is now king of earth. Us one-eyed men and women. But the old kings, they were psychopaths, right? They ruled over others, their will over another. Queen Elizabeth, I think number 1 or 2, she used to even have people killed for farting. A natural occurrence. You fart in her presence, to the guillotine. That's psycho. Anyway. So, no, it was edited. But anyway, enough bashing the Bible. It's alright. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. Just keep that in mind, that it is edited by men. Yeah, it's not like God is just speaking. Anyway, let's get past that. So, I went through many stages of this 144,000 thing. What is it? I thought, is it soul groups? Is it, is it individual people? And look, in the end, I've come to this conclusion. It's been on my mind for 10 years, and I think I've finally had the epiphany. This is where I'm settling. So this is no kind of priori, quick, glib conclusion, because I've been through so many stages of this. What is this number? What does it mean? Surely it's not only 144,000 people who are individuated soul humans or spirited humans. That can't be it. There's definitely more than 144,000 self-spirited humans. That's a ridiculous number to say that, there's 144,000 people who only have souls, individuated or spirited humans. It's too low. It's such a minute percentage. It's not even a percentage. It's a percentage of 1%. Right? 7 billion people, 1% is 7 million, isn't it? So, because it's 1,000 million, 1 billion, and we've got 7 billion. So, it's a fraction of a percent, 144,000. It's not even 1% of humanity, not even 7 million. It's said that there's 7 million way showers. There's about 7 million way showers. Right, so that's 1%. See, I went over this from so many different angles, guys. That's why I'm settled now. My conclusion is that the 144,000 are the Apotheots of the Eschaton, such as I. An Apotheot of the Eschaton. You're going to have to figure out what that means, what the Eschaton is. Like I've said, it was the period at the end of individual cultural human history. Notice the robots are here. And we have gone from tribes to cultures into the ocean of humanity now. So it's the end of individual cultural human history. We know all the tribes and all the jungles, every island on Earth. There's nothing undiscovered. Everything has been overturned or apocalypted. Apocalypse means to uncover in Greek. I've said that many times. And we're in only apocalyptic energy now, remember? We've passed the tribulation period from 2012 to 2019, had the Hyperborean crossing in 2019, 21st of the 12th, 2019. Exactly 7 years, which is, the Christ number. After 2012, the center of the Eschaton. The Eschaton was 2007 to 2017, and it was like a naked singularity, temporal in time, and a zone of complexity, and a zone of time compression, right? We all remember how the quickening feeling. And what's interesting is that now we're only in apocalyptic energy, which is going to be like in a negative sense as well, not just uncovering. Yes, that too. That Greek meaning of the word apocalypse, to uncover. But I mean like bad energy now. Like, the world going into Orwellian state, nightmare state, the over-control maniacs, and so on, techno-dystopia, etc., etc. Massive bushfires in Australia is another little sign, like earthly upheaval, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Yellowstone volcano in America erupted, or, an asteroid hurtled into somewhere on Earth, like a massive one. So just like, that's what I mean by only apocalyptic energy now, not just uncovering, but like in a negative sense as well. So the Eschaton, though, 2007 to 2017, was a heightened period, a heightening and heightened period. That's why we had all these dimensional visions, right? We had all these dimensional visions, and we managed to get through all the portals, all the magnetic alignments, etc., right? We pushed it all through. That was the Eschaton, right? And it's like a heightened period, not just compression of time, which means you learn more in a shorter time. Wasn't that the case? It was said that time was speeding up towards the end. The epiphanies, like the grand cosmic epiphanies, would come monthly. In 2010, 2011 it went weekly, and in 2012 it should have been like daily. And that's why I still hold that energy. It's weekly to daily. Well, actually for me it's still daily. Every day I get multiple epiphanies. That's how you know you're an apotheot of the Eschaton. If every day you get grand, like cosmic epiphanies or novelty. That's why in like almost every video I can enter novelty. I'm not just an echo, but a true voice. You see that? This is very obvious from all my organic portal videos. I'm entering new stuff. Even if I'm reading someone else's material, I enter something new from myself. That's what I mean. And I have epiphanies mid-video, etc. You can see all this if you watch all my videos. So yeah, I'm settled on this now, guys. Like I've been thinking that for the last few months. I think that's what it is. Because it's the end, so you have to have all the answers by the end. Do you understand? In some way, shape or form, we found all the answers. All of the pieces to the puzzle were laying on the ground for anybody to pick up during the Eschaton, but most of you were looking the other way. Maybe not on this channel, but to the world. Most people were looking the other way, doing their regular habitual routine. I was hooked in novelty. Not by my own doing, but by the universe, yeah? So every day was just novel. I was not in the 9 to 5 cycle. I was unhabitual. It was crazy unhabitual. You'll have to read my book, The Eschaton, which I'm halfway through writing. And that's going to explain everything. And so I think this is going to have to be a chapter in that book. What does the 144,000 mean? Because it's always stuck to me like this means something. It's not nothing. I'm not like a religious person. I'm not overly fond of the Bible or anything like that. But still, to me, it stuck out. Like this means something, this number, there's something to this number. Now, you've heard a lot of people say a lot of different stuff, but I think this is what it comes down to. The 144,000 are the Apotheots It means the ascended ones, essentially, from the eschaton. And that's what the eschaton was, the period of ascension. Then we went into tribulation, which was like the planet trying to line me up, trying to line us apotheotes up. Tribulation is, to me, more like a choosing and picking as well. So again, I'm just trying to add in extra definition, higher definition, because I'm a way shower to a higher standard. So I think in the end it's the Apotheots of the Eschaton. Now here, let me explain this a bit more. You see all around, there's definitely more than 144,000 soul humans, definitely. It's just, maybe you don't think so because there's a lot of negative souls. And you could easily mistake these negative souls for even organic portal soulless people. I don't want to name any names for this video because it's such a high video. I don't want to lower it into any individual people. So I want to keep it, energetic in vision. So here's how it is. Obviously we have the organic portals, the hive mind people, the 2D, at best 3D sovereign point of seed point of sovereignty, the ego. They do not have higher self, no id, no super ego. They're also Hylics, and they mistake my spirit for ego because they're mistaking my super ego and get offended by my super ego or the id, the light body, right? Get your spirit out. They mistake that for ego because they are the fearful, unconscious little ego, the 3D ego. So, and it doesn't know what it's doing at all. So, I've made a video on that long time ago, a year ago, Hylics mistake spirit for ego. That's why a lot of people just call me ego. They don't seem to understand it. But you can't kill the ego, you only enlighten it. It's not to be killed because then you kill yourself. The ego is how you know whose mouth to put the spoon in at night, who to feed. Do you understand? These 2D organic portals, they don't even have that. They're the complete Hylics. The 2D organic portals are really, really dumb ones. Okay, that's the Hylics, the 2D organic portal. They haven't even reached 3D seed point of sovereignty, let alone 4th dimensional feeling body or 5th dimensional telepathic light body state. And across the field of topology, which means you also can shift energies out of the grid. That also means you're not stagnant and you're not over congruent as one stereotype. You might think of it like that. That's how I'm the shaman. I can move through grids of experience. I've explained this many times, like the surfer energy is a grid. Then you have the skater grid. You have the scientist grid. These are grid types of experience and stereotypy. Do you see it? So the shaman moves across grids, and we're the opposite of the organic portal who is stuck in one grid. And a very good, I just thought of Dr. Quantum, the little cartoon out of What the Bleep Do We Know Down the Rabbit Hole, 2006 scientific documentary. How Dr. Quantum goes in and rescues the little flatland circle. Perfect example of like being stuck in a grid as a 2D organic portal. And you see how fearful the circle was when Dr. Quantum came in to try and rescue him, pop him out dimensionally. So that dimensional popping process is what the Apotheots of the Eschaton truly and very well understand. And that's one sign to know, because I'm sure some of you are going to be thinking, okay, Ben, how do I know if I'm an Apotheot? You should know. I shouldn't have to tell you anything. If you're the best, if you're the Apotheot, you're an ascended master, essentially. You should damn well know, right? I shouldn't have to explain anything to you. You should get that straight away when I say the little sentence Apotheots of the Eschaton. That's enough for you, right? So that's how you know. But here, no, let me explain it more. But you get what I mean anyway, you guys out there. So it's like this. You have, the field of entropy and soul potential. Negative soul humans, they're potential vectors. Remember how I keep saying this on the channel? I'm a positive soul vector. So I pull the entire field forward with new ideas. new information, new insight, etc. You see? Novelty, not just habituality. So negative souls are negative, they're acidic, satanic-minded, suicidal, they carry, like dark black energy, dark black aura, that is very negative. They at best can, become like an evil person, you know what I mean? And have henchmen. But they're not pushing the field forward with novelty, and they're not positive soul human vectors. They may be a spirited human, a soul human, but they're not vectors. That's the difference. They're only in the entropical field of potential choice. It's like they haven't vectorized, you see? So definitely all Apotheots of the Eschaton are now vectorized for sure, because that's what the tribulation was doing. The planet was vectorizing us, tribulating. Should I do this? Should I do this with Ben? Should I do that with Ben? Should I do this with Apotheot 2, Apotheot 3? Tribulating, deciding. You see, the planetary mind, the higher planetary mind, was doing this, on behalf of the universe, so the universe can continue. So on behalf of God, in other words, yeah? If you want to see it like that. So yeah, let's take this down. Let's go over the numbers. I want to end it here. I have to go do something. But so you have, the majority. I really think this now. The majority are organic portals. This is where energy is not renewed. Energy has moved past these people. I've always said organic portals are like a previous platform of creation. I even think it's insofar as Homo sapien compared to us new Homo cosmic ecstaticus. Don't forget, Neanderthal and sapiens were alive at the same time and interbred. The same thing's happening now. Homo sapiens are interbreeding, or organic portals are interbreeding with Homo cosmic ecstaticus spirited humans, or eternal spirits, I call us. Right? Do you see this? So what we have is the majority. I don't know the exact percentage, but I'm going to say the majority. Over 50% are organic portals now, and they're part of a group soul. That means they don't have their own individuated, off that group soul, individuated soul. And that's because they're not pumping spirit into it. Okay, so this is how it works. So you got all these erroneous videos in the organic portals movement who are saying, no, organic portals have a soul. Yeah, they have a group soul only. They're not individuated. They're not cracked off. The energy has not been shifted out of the group soul into an individuated soul. Do you get it? And you do that with spirit. You push out, okay? You crack off the group soul, right? So finally I've said it perfectly, and it can't be denied now. So how this is, all right, let's go over the numbers quickly. You've got the majority organic portals, and then it's, there's quite a lot. I don't know the percentages, maybe another 30% are negative souls. Negative souls are like circling, whinging, whining, negative, complaining, blah, blah, blah. All these organic portal channels are very good examples. Most of the people making organic portal videos, not all of them, but currently, I don't know how it will be next year or the year after, but currently most of the people making organic portal videos and watching on, so contributing views and stuff and comments and stuff, they're negative. Then, so there's like the majority organic portals, the soulless human as we call them, or the spiritless human, part of 2D group soul. That's the majority. Then there's like another big clump, negative souls. So if we take, let's just pretend, I don't know the exact number, let's say we're up to 80% now. It might be 90 already, it might be 70, but I don't know the exact percent. Let's say we're up to 80% now. We've got the organic portals out of the way and the negative souls out of the way. So now, I'm thinking actually 90%, by the way. I'm going to go with that. I've got to say it. So now we've only got 10% left. What's 10% of 7 billion? right? It's 700 million. So there's maybe it's 99% we're already up to. There's a hell of a lot of negative soul humans who are soul potential, but they're not vectorizing, not positive soul vectors or spirited soul vectors. So we're at a very high percentage already after organic portals and then the negative souls. I'm going to say it's in the 90%, in my opinion. And yeah, it's 80, 90, 95%. It's going to be high. We've already got most of the world's population out of the way already. Then, say, I don't know, we're at 700 million. See, I think even that might even be too much. But possibly not, because it's very hard to count this. That could be a reasonably accurate number if you really think about it without your hateful bias. I know, I hate them too, you know what I mean? They're annoying, I get it. But without you've got to leave your hateful bias to the side now, right? We've got to think very logically to this. So we've got most of the world's population out of the picture, that's for sure. That's for sure. Let's just say we're at 90%. Sorry, this is the best that can be done, because science isn't researching it. We have to guess, we have to induce, we have to infer. It's the best we can do. So, and it's better than doing nothing. So get the hateful biases out of the way. Say we're at 90% now. We've covered, the negative souls, which are looking into the past, which is negative space and uncreative. That's why they whinge, they whine, and they're echoes, the negative souls. They're only echoes. That's why I've said they're at the same frequency as the organic portals. They're not much different at all. Sure, they got a little bit of soul, and they'll, they're moving a little bit away from being unconscious and stuff. Like at least they're conscious and considering and so on, right? So they're better than the organic portals, but they're negative. They're looking into the past, they're whinging, they're whining, blah, blah, blah. Acidic mind state, lots of demonic action themselves, by the way, because you're susceptible in the lower energies to demonic activity in your unconscious shadow parts of your mind. Not saying that we don't all have shadows, I'm just saying they have large areas of shadows, the negative soul, right? Large areas of unconscious shadow area. So anyway, we've got most people out of the picture. We're at like 90% now. Let's just put that number there so we've got something to go on. I think most of you are going to agree with that number anyway. But say we're at 90%. Let's say we're at more. Let's go straight to 99% and say 1% of humanity, just for sake of argument, we've gone to 1% now after the organic portals and the negative souls. So there's 7 million, 1% of 7 billion. There's 7 million positive soul vectors. These are people who are pulling humanity forward with new information, positive insights, which is forward reaching, pulling forward, not looking backwards like the negative souls, you see. That's how we can define all this. So now we're at 7 million, at 1% of all humanity is positive soul vectors. This is making sense. This makes sense. These numbers, they make some sense. Tell me, comment how it doesn't. Tell me how your theory is better. I'll consider it. I will literally consider your theory, but do a good job of explaining it in your comment with your percentages. Don't just say, oh, this is what I think. Say why. Why do you think this percentage, that percentage? You're going to have to tell me that in your comment, or you're going to look like the idiot. You have to say why and how so. You can't just say, oh, this is what I think. That's stupid. You have to say why, okay? So by all means comment what you think, but make a good job of your comment and say why you think those percentages if you think differently from me. I'll accept that, but do a good comment. Say why. So we're at 1%. We've got 7 million on the scoreboard here. Positive soul vectors. So then that to me is starting to make sense, because that's definitely like how many way showers there are. This can be like just a scientist or something, a soul human scientist, a positive soul human scientist. I don't want to name names, but look around with your own eye. So then I was thinking, well, that's still not 144,000. So what is this mysterious 144,000? This is a low percentage. This is a fraction of a percentage. 7 million is 1%. That's a far cry from 144,000. Do you see it? I thought, okay, well, there has to be at least one more razor cut of discernment. We have to cut this up again somehow. Now, this is what I've been lamenting on now for many, many months. And I thought, well, what can you cut this up with? What are the next cuts? Who makes the cut? And I thought, well, the eschaton. What else can it be? Or if you've read the Bible, fuck off. Do you see what I mean? Tell me, what's the last cut? Or the last few cuts? It would be like, if you're involved in only seeing truth, that might be a cut. But that's all built in to an apotheot of the eschaton. Do you see what I mean? I'm going for a big cut, not minuscule little cuts. Yes, they're all built into this bigger idea that I'm putting forth of apotheots of the eschaton. That, I think, is the last cut. So we're at positive soul vectors at 7 million. Way showers, positive soul vectors, right? That's 7 million, that's 1%. And then I thought, well, what's the final cut? What else can it be? It's not, oh, you read the Bible. Oh, come on, come off it. That's just something stupid to say. So it would be something like the apotheots of the eschaton. It has to be something big like that. What else do we have left up our sleeve? That's all I can think about. That's all I can think. That's all that's left. What's the last definition? Okay, so we have positive soul humans, then what? And I thought, well, it has to come to the eschaton. Even Terence McKenna, he said it's possible in the end. Remember, he's the time wave zero guy. If you don't know about him, that's very important. And I have a whole playlist which barely any of you are watching. I don't know why you're not watching them, because I posted them 3 years ago. It doesn't mean anything. It's timeless information. Are you all caught up and tripped up in fads and fashion or something? Fads and fades, glib. Why aren't you watching the Terence McKenna playlists? I've got a whole playlist on there. There's like 100 videos. He, I think, is at least one of, if not the most intelligent person that's come on this planet. Look at the things he said. We can still barely figure them out. It's amazing. And his whole theory was about time and about the eschaton in a non-biblical sense. So he wasn't, just someone coming in with an echo. He brought in a whole new novel theory. He got these I Ching little symbols out of the ancient divinatory Chinese system, and he put it in a Cartesian graph. That's hard enough. They were just little symbols. He had to see the change, and he had to put it in a fractal graph. It's fractal, the time wave zero. Right? Look into it. And, he even said that it's possible in the end it comes down to a group of people, or one person, he said even. Now, let's forget he says the one person, because everybody's going to, have a problem with that being said, obviously. Every ego in the world will buck that off straight away. So let's forget that's even a word that's said. So let's just go with what he initially said, so that we can all feel better, that we might be part of the group. So he said, it's possible in the end, due to the time wave showing novelty and concrescence, it's possible in the end it comes down to a group of people. Then you've got Riser, Gold Ring Game of Enlightenment and Abundance, comes right at the end of history. Exactly at the end of history. Exactly at 2009, 2010, 2012, as we go into the actual eschaton, the end date, as we cross the thing. So he's clearly the guy with the great work at the end. That's Richard Wigley, or Riser 5 from Gold Ring Game of Enlightenment and Abundance. And I also have that playlist on my channel. Thanks, Richard, for letting me put your videos on the playlist on my channel. He's given me specific permission to do that. He said, yep, you can do it. So thanks for that, Richard. But what's amazing is, he has the dimensional knowledge, bar none. I see nobody else able to explain the dimensions better than Riser 5 from Golden Game of Enlightenment and Abundance. Besides myself. I've seen a lot of websites talking about dimensions. Even Walter Russell had his version of dimensions, but they're different. It's like more mathematic. It's not the dimensions we're talking about exactly. They kind of cross over a little bit, but not really. So these are the meta dimensions of how physicality becomes form. They're the dimensions I'm talking about. So, this is the most complex set of several hundred videos I've ever seen. You might say there's other series out there like Book of the Cube, but that's going off Kabbalah. Every time I've seen someone talk about Kabbalah, it's like half dark. It's like infiltrated demonically or something's going on there. I'll have to figure out how to talk about that, but something feels off about it. Every time I hear someone talk about Kabbalah stuff, something's not right there. I'm not anti-Semitic or anything. Anyway, so here we are, down to the last cuts. It has to be the Apotheots of the Eschaton, in my opinion. So then Riser says, the indigos in the id or higher self goes, right? Like me, I'm an indigo, obviously. The indigos are the only people to create the new world. Only the indigos will create the new world. And every day that passes, that becomes more and more true. Because the rest of them are all trapped in the hindbrain, the R complex, in basic survival mechanisms, and they do not have vision. Putting up a wall around your country is not a vision. Wake up. Every president in the world now is only hindbrain. Every president of every country in the world. Completely compromised, completely only using the compromised mind, completely hindbrain and visionless. No cosmic exemplified egos or qualified egos exist in power positions at all currently. Nowhere. Even in middle management in every frickin' organization you can think of. I'm going to make a video on it and I'll delineate what I've said. Anyway, so it's not that, it doesn't, the 144,000 isn't, presidents of the world or something. You see what I mean? There has to be a final cut. It's not that either. Throw that one away. So what would it come down to? Apotheots of the Eschaton, of course. If you understand apotheosis truly, it's like basically another word for ascension. The ascended ones. And, indigos, we're the ones that go inside ourselves, think for ourselves thoroughly. Right? Self-minded, fully turned on, every facet working, every faculty functioning, full vision, right? Full epiphany. Full cosmic exemplified qualified ego. I've talked about the qualified ego. That means I get light up the spine through God's mouth, medulla oblongata, through the hindbrain. The pons act like drums on the brain stem, through to the pineal scintillating vision, onto the septum pellucidum, the mid-limbic brain, into the higher grey matter, the neocortex, or the cortical folds, into the frontal brain, where the ego-associated self-identity zone is, in the neocortex, which is coincidentally the only part of the brain turned off when you take magic mushrooms, by the way. The rest of the brain lights up and goes into hyper-connection when you're on these magic mushrooms, psilocybe cubensi. Isn't that interesting? The ego portion, the front, turns off. The rest of the brain goes nuts in neurogenesis, generating neurons or thought and physical structure, the neurons. Brain cells are created from cannabis. Brain cells are created from all psychedelic interaction, whether you're taking a psychedelic, the 10 or so core psychedelics, or having natural, on the natural, meditative psychedelic experience. It's all neurogenesis. This is a very indigo way of life, because reality is happening inside out. Don't know if you've noticed that. The form and the physical stuff, this is the outside. I call it the pinnacle forefront of creation. That's what the third dimension is. Anyway, so what would the last cut be? We're at 1%. What would you say? Oh, it's not the presidents of the world. It's not got nothing to do with the Bible. The Bible mentioned eschatology because it's a very smart Bible. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you read it, you can fully even understand it. You see what I'm saying? So we have to find a last razor cut, a last massive cut at least. We've gone, okay, we've got organic portals, I don't know, let's say 75%. We've gone up to 99% removing negative souls. So we're into positive soul humans and way showers, right? Then what? We're at 1%, 7 million. How do you get from 7 million to 144,000? You tell me the cut. I'm saying it's the Apotheots of the Eschaton.